Hi, how are you doing? I hope you're doing well. Welcome to the first video of this particular channel. In this video, I'm going to be telling you exactly the podcast production workflow that we use, particularly for all of our clients or who we do podcast production for. I'm not going to lie, we don't work with hundreds of clients and we have not helped them generate billions of dollars. We work with a select few clients that we've landed so far, and we help them make money through whatever funnel that they have, and we help save them a lot of time. That's our core value proposition, where we offload all of the podcast production for them so that they can focus on what they enjoy doing, and we just focus and we try to make a system through which they can outsource all of their podcast production over to us. We do everything. We do the posting, publishing, everything. So in this video, I'm going to tell you the exact workflow we use, and I've got this on my phone just so that I could like keep track of everything. So I'll just go over this one by one, and I'll tell you exactly how we do what we do. So even if you don't want to work with us, you can still learn a lot from this particular process, and you can simply copy and paste this process, and you'll be able to make really good teasers. You'll be able to save so much time, and you'll be able to get one podcast edited from the start till the very end. That's going to include like raw files, from the raw files over to the posting within at max 2 days, not more than that. So using this workflow, we do that, and we do over 7 to 8 podcasts every single week. So yeah, and we do everything: show notes, distribution, all of that stuff. So firstly, we get the raw files from our clients. They are either sent through Google Drive, they are either sent through Riverside, and sometimes they're also sent through frame.io. Now, what we do is that we download those files. After that, the team of the editors, they basically take those files, sync them together, edit them out so that the angles are set. Whoever is speaking, that person is on the screen, no one else is on the screen. The audio is synced, and then the audio is mastered. So excuse me. So ideally, what happens is that sometimes we do the mastering beforehand, but sometimes when we know that the podcast is long and there's going to be like a lot of cutting or stuff that's going to be removed, we just do the cutting beforehand, and then after that we master the audio using Adobe Audition. We don't use Adobe Podcast AI unless the audio is it's really bad. So if you have a microphone that is of good quality, for example, like the ones that you see with the biggest podcast in the world, the Rode microphones, you should use Adobe Audition. Don't use Adobe Podcast AI software, because that's gonna destroy your audio quality. It's not gonna add that bass, that depth in your audio. So if you want the best audio quality, be sure to use Adobe Audition to master your audio. So we master the audios, and then after that we simply sync them with the camera angles, and then we edit the whole podcast. And once that's done, after that the whole transcript of the podcast is rendered, and that transcript is then uploaded to Assembly AI. And then using that, we generate an SRT caption file that basically tells, like, that's basically a file that tells exactly where what was spoken. So it's a timestamped version of the whole podcast. Then we go over to ChatGPT. We just give it a simple prompt that we have, and then we give it the transcript that we have. And using that transcript, ChatGPT gives us exactly the portions we need for the intro to be really, really good, similar to the ones that you see on the Diary of a CEO that perform really, really well. So once that is done, after that, ChatGPT also gives us an AI voiceover script so that if there's any information missing, we have all the bridge like in between to make sure there's a complete storyline. And then we have AI clones of our hosts so that we can essentially use those clones to generate the AI voiceovers. And once that is done, we have the whole intro completed without any input from the client. So the client just has to like send over the raw files. That's it. We do the camera angle syncing, the audio mastering, the audio, like the audio generation, the intro creation, and everything is done at really high quality. It's not one of those simple caption intros. It's premium templates, premium editing, and premium motion graphics that we do. So once that is done, after that the intro is sent over to the QC manager. Now depending upon who the client is, we have different people who are supposed to check the work of those clients, so we don't have anyone who is overworked, because of which they might not be able to catch mistakes. So they pick up the mistakes, they add those mistakes inside frame.io, or sometimes just through WhatsApp to save time. And then once that is done, after that the feedback is implemented and the podcast is rendered. Now once that is done, we use the same transcription that we had the last time, but now we use a longer, like the whole podcast transcription that includes the intro as well, because we have to timestamp it for the show notes. Then we have custom trained GPTs to write show notes. Excuse me. I just had food, so like it's hard for me to speak right now. But we then use the long form transcription with the intro, and then you using that transcription, we generate show notes, and then after that, we put everything inside one Google Drive. Then our graphic designer makes the podcast square, makes thumbnails, and any other graphic that your podcast might need. We have the catalogs, sorry, we have the carousels, we have the story promotions, like anything you need depending upon what your requirements are. We make them, and then after that, everything gets put in one Google Drive folder, and then that folder is shared with you if you want to check it out. But if you don't want to check it out, if you just want the podcast to be published, then we upload the whole audio over to Flightcast or Red Circle. Or if you don't have any of these podcast hosting platforms, then we upload them straight to Spotify podcast, YouTube, and then Apple Podcast, and then they are set live everywhere. And for YouTube, we upload the podcast, then we put in the tag, title, description, everything, the show notes, the sponsors, if there are any, then we insert the mid rolls. We do all of that stuff, and then once that is done, the podcast is set live. And then after that, we just use Opus to clip short form content, and then we have our own unique captioning style there. We use that to upload bulk content on like across socials, so that the podcast gets a lot of reach. So that is how we do the podcast production at the back end. And this is the perspective of a Pakistani like podcast production agency owner. So this is how we do it. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So if you want to work with me, and if you want like us to take care of your podcast production, then feel free to book a call down below. And using that link, you can also find the people that we work with as well. So yeah, that's that. Have an amazing day. And this was it. Goodbye.